Morena tātou katoa. Good morning. Good to see a lot of positive energy and buzz in the room. So we've got a bit to get through. Harness that and we should be all right. And I'll have you out of here by 5 minutes to midnight. Tama, if you would open the meeting with karakia, please.
Te atua kaharawa hapai nā pōru tua tai ki te tāhuru mata pū kia hora tamarino kia whakapapapau na muka moana kia tere te kārori rohi ruhi te iwe tangata te takahei te nuku o ta whenua. Te pukuru ana ki tātou i kura mai te kukuru ki te tangata ki ngā rarangi kini komene ki te tō. O reira e mihi ana ki te tangata o ngaro i tirohanga kanohi ngā tangata Tainga mai o tāwhiri matea I tērā rohe o Aotearoa ko mate, o ki atu koutou ki tō koutou kāinga, o ki atu ki tō koutou Hawaii nui, Hawaii roa, Hawaii whamama, ki te honga ko whetu rangitia, moi mai roti I tariki. Kia tātou e pai nei, tēnei te mihi o te aroha kia koutou, e kimi ana, e rapu ana I te huarahi pai, o tō tātou tātou. Anei te mihi atu ki a koutou. Mai te whare o te kingi, tūri te tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Have a great day, everyone. No, I'll leave my proverb for this time. We'll do it another day. Tēnā koutou. Thank you, everybody.
Kia ora, Tama. Thank you for opening that with a really beautiful energy for the day, so appreciate that. We do have a few apologies. Deputy Mayor O'Leary, who's on training, so we'll just note that she's doing council-related training and is not late, so we'll strike her off. And so, yeah?
Ryan is late.
Ryan for lateness. Okay. Moved by Councillor Wilson, seconded by Councillor Van Oosten. All in favour, please say aye. Thank you. The agenda is as confirmed. So we've got, as you noting a few things that are on that. C1 is going to be taken following item 6. So there's a few little minor tweaks, but nothing that we won't navigate through, nothing I think we think is consequential. So I'll move that the agenda be received. If I have a seconder, please. Councillor Wilson, all in favour, say aye. Thank you. Any declaration? No, it's not required because no. Yep. Public forum, there isn't any because this is us to set a consultation document and there'll be another step for public to have a say at some point. So that moves us on to item 6, which is fees and charges. Oh, it's Chair's report. My report. Yeah, I'm just going to take my report as read pretty much. I think it pretty directly explains the challenge that sits between us. We're all aware of the financial hard times that we're facing, both within our council, across New Zealand and at a household level, and we have to be mindful of that and setting today's rates around affordability and remembering that the average New Zealander only has so much disposable income, and in their world many things are elevating at this point in time, interest rates, high inflation, cost of goods and services and all of that. So we do have to be very mindful that we cut our coat according to our cloth and keep growing the city, but keep an affordability lens across our days. So if there are no questions about that or comments? No? Okay, thank you. I move that my report be received. Seconded. Councillor Kesh Schneider-Roth. All in favour?
Sorry, I wanted to debate. I had
Oh, so no, okay, sorry. Okay, apologies. We'll take that back. I thought because it all went through so smoothly, Ewan. But yes, let's do debate. Off you go.
This is positive debate. I just want to say that I found your chair's report had a significant level of clarity and was well structured and really highlighted the significant financial dilemma that we're in. And that it was clearly articulated that today we've got to put our adult pants on and make some really tough, well thought out decisions. I personally feel that the organisation needs to do some more work in looking at efficiencies and savings within OPEX before we land on whether or not our ratepayers see a significant increase. I don't think what we are seeing here today from staff have gone far enough. But I think the report starts to illustrate the seriousness of the situation we're in. And today, and the decisions that stem from today and the community feedback we'll get from those decisions will lay a very important foundation. And I do want to say very briefly that a mantra of, oh, well, look, we don't have to make any tough decisions today, we can wait till the long-term plan, a year time, is the equivalent of putting your head in the sand. And that is not the way we should be approaching it. So well done on your chair's report, Mayor Paula. It highlights the seriousness of the situation we're in.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Any further debate? There being none, we will now have a mover and seconder, myself and Kesh, and we'll go to the vote. All in favour, please say aye. Opposed, carried. And I sing out people on Zoom because I may well forget you several times during the day, but I'll try not to. Okay, that now brings us to item 6, which is the fees and charges.
Would there be any alteration to the standing orders for today's?
Correct. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We did talk about that in setting up the meeting. Councillors, you know that we have talked about a change in standing orders to expedite a more efficient meeting at times, but not clipping off final debate in any way. And we agreed to that, but it hasn't gone, of course, through the council meeting yet to the next one, right, Amy? So my proposed to limit, to relax the standing orders, to limit the debate to 2 minutes.
We did that in confirmation.
We did that in the confirmation? Yeah. Oh, we did. See, on B in the confirmation, Maxine. Even I overlooked that. All right, so everyone's aware that we're speaking for 2 minutes, except with the exception of the last debate, which is you have your full right to express all your feelings. Ewan, you have a question?
Your Worship, I must confess, and I apologise, and it's my fault, I didn't pick up that little technicality that was in there, in the report, that we've now reduced our ability to speak on these important matters. I would raise with you, Mayor Paula, that of all the meetings, setting an annual plan is pretty important, and I would hate to think that anybody's trying to stymie meaningful debate and democracy over the significant financial decisions we're about to make, because I think that would be unfair to the ratepayers, because we've got a lot of issues that are important. So I accept your ruling, but I certainly I find some comfort that the fact on the last issue, in terms of accepting it, we're going to get the full 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, 5 minutes.
Which is a good length of time. I guess I take on board what you're saying, and we have that discussion on another time, but it is the chair's discretion, of course, to allow a little extra. And if good debate is going on in a way that's not repetitive or hasn't covered other people's points, then I think I will allow some leeway, and you'll just have to hopefully trust me for that.
Yeah, no,
My intention is not to gag, but it's to keep an efficient, time-effective meeting and leave the debate for the really meaty bits that we really want to talk to. Is that okay?
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. So we now are on fees and charges. And note, we've got, because of we couldn't do it any other way. We've got this, and then we go into public exclude, and then we come back. And I know that's not convenient for all of the gallery, and I apologise, but that's just the way it had to work. So we go to the fees and charges, please. Oh, there you are. I was looking over here.
Thank you, Mayor Paula. Good morning, everyone. So the first paper we're bringing you today is around our fees and charges paper. So the reason why we bring this to you a little bit earlier in the year is we actually start setting some of our fees and charges of the organisation in sort of April, May. So hence the reason why we need to formally do this today. So just to go over how we come to putting these fees and charges together. So they're all quite varied depending on the different parts of the organisation. So some of them are genuine cost recoveries. So putting together these fees and charges, the team will go through and obviously looking at what our costs are and making sure that we can cost recover those through the fees and charges. We also take into consideration, especially around visitor destinations and things like that, affordability of being able to pay those fees and charges. We also take into consideration any legislation and market factors that might be in, and we use quite a lot of benchmarking. So because of that variety, you'll see if you've gone through the very large list of each individual one, they're all quite different. And just another ones, some of them with that have been inflated as well, so we'll just go through and inflate those fees and charges every year. They won't necessarily work out to be a pure 6%, for example. So what we'll do, we'll calculate what that looks like, adding that inflation, and then we'll round it to make it look like a reasonable number. So some of them might be 5.8 or 6.2, all of those sorts of things. So again, just making it a little bit more of an easier number. So with that, I will take any questions.
Are there any questions? No? Okay, is there any debate on fees and charges? Huh? Is this, yeah, I asked, yeah. So this is your time for, in the debate, for putting your motion or your contemplation? Thanks, Anna.
I think as circulated this morning was a motion that I've proposed regarding that staff trial a discount for community service card holders in our community for access to aquatic facilities and visitor destination. And my rationale for doing this is a little bit like what Councillor Ewan said. It's about not sticking our head in the sand around the impact of a cost of living crisis on our poorest community. And so this is a way I see of ensuring and enabling participation, which is always compromised in a cost of living crisis. You know, the impact of that is borne more heavily on our poorest community. So, and the way I see it too is about our commitment to wellbeing, that if participation is enabled to our aquatic facilities and our visitor destination sites by for people whose lives are effectively on the margins, that we have an opportunity to increase wellbeing, and I understand that to be our ultimate purpose as a council. I know this isn't a new idea. I know this would have been discussed before. I also know there's some questions around timing and whether this could wait for the long-term plan. I think this is a crisis that we are in at the moment. I think there's an urgency to ensure that our poorer communities know that we are here, that we are supporting, that we're doing whatever we can to ensure that the burden that they face through the cost of living crisis is somewhat alleviated. So that's my rationale, and I'm pleased to have Councillor Kesh in support, but I look forward to discussion.
Okay, since it's a relatively new item for many, I think it's right to take questions on that and ensure that everybody has a full understanding. I think you're first, Councillor. Let me just see. Oh, sorry, I haven't got the right button up. My discussion button won't go. Councillor Bidder is first.
Are we having discussion on that motion, or is this debate on the...
It's discussion on that because we won't go to debate until this item has been...
take away my discussion on this point.
Okay. You were waiting for debate, were you, on fees and charges? Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Paul. I have a number of questions on this issue. First of all, to staff, putting aside the merits of the proposal, have staff had an opportunity to do a cost analysis to try to quantify the ramifications of this decision, because it commits the Chief Executive to develop and trial in the next financial year. So what is this costing us?
So the second, or the last part of the motion, provided this can be done without compromising overall revenue targets for these sites. So the motion on the table today would, before the annual plan is adopted, we'd take the time to do more analysis on that. So, and providing that we're comfortable that we can meet the last part of that motion, then we'd put it forward. Yeah.
Thank you. And so how could that be? I'm assuming it's the old adage of, well, we might generate volume, and volume may lead to additional revenue. So, in fact, the initiative is cost neutral. Is that the
That
mantra?
is, and so we've looked, and I mean, we have been looking at some of these initiatives across the country, such as Wellington. They've been trialling these kinds of initiatives for some time, and a lot of venues across the country do have a community services card concession. We actually do have one at the zoo on the adult fee, so this would be about extending it to pools and Excite.
And in the other jurisdictions that have implemented, have you clear evidence that you've seen volume growth and it's not being subsidised by other ratepayers?
Yeah, Wellington's done a lot of work on this. They did a lot of work prior to implementing it and have done a lot of work on it since, and analysis on it since, and they have seen that, but it's quite carefully structured. We were looking at doing a lot of work on our revenue before the next LTP, including how we can do more kind of value-add revenue generation across all our sites, as well as, you know, these types of concessions, you know, that ensure that our venues are accessible and affordable. So that would give us a lot more time. What we'd be looking at here is maybe a smaller version of what we might put forward in the longer term.
So just for clarity, if I may, Mayor Paula, this was something that staff were thinking of.
Our role was, well, we're always looking at revenue opportunities across all our venues. So, and in fact have been doing a lot of work, particularly at the zoo and the museum, and you know, for entry charging for the gardens. So, I mean, we're constantly looking at revenue generation. This would be a part of.
Right.
That's a part of
Sorry,
looking at that.
what I was trying to understand is this something that you had already been working on, and that you had decided that this was something you were going to bring to the LTP?
Something that we would look to, like we have a lot more work to do on it before we'd put through a proposal in full. Okay. I'm reasonably comfortable with looking at introducing a concession, a community services card concession across some of our fees, but not necessarily all of our fees.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Final question just on this point. How many hours, what consultancy costs are going to be involved in doing this analysis to be able to bring us a meaningful, because you'd be giving us an undertaking,
Yep.
that this isn't costing other ratepayers more to subsidise, and that we're going to have the efficiency, so you'll have to be pretty accurate. So are we engaging external experts to do this analysis?
No, we're not engaging external consultants. We have very good staff, and this is the job that they do in terms of looking at volumes and projections. And
So can you explain to me how many hours, how many, who you're allocating, what work has to go on, and are they doing something else that we're pulling them off to do this analysis? Or it hasn't been thought through yet?
Leanne, yeah, get you to answer it with your staff.
Kia ora koutou. To answer your question, Councillor Ewan, as you know, in visitor services and products within my team, we have a business development team. So when the General Manager refers to the fact that this is kind of an ongoing BAU work for us, we weren't specifically looking at a community concession fee, is the short answer. The longer answer is we're always looking to make sure that we have appropriate pricing for the various markets that we engage with. And you'll see through the fees and charges actually that we've introduced some new product charges and some other things that are specifically targeted at the audiences that we think we're trying to reach. So my team will continue to do what they do, and we'll extend that to include the polls with some support from the business development person there. We may triangulate our thinking a little bit with someone like Horworth, who we've already engaged to work on the Hamilton Gardens admission fee. So there would be no extra cost incurred, and the output of that would be that we would have some level of confidence about volumes and the net impact of introducing a community concession.
Thank you.
Ms. Southgate. I've just got a question about the last bit of it. I've got no issues with the sentiment and what you're hoping to do. But the last bit where it says, provided this can be done without compromising overall revenue targets for these sites, it just feels a bit woolly to me. Are we saying without losing any money, or are we saying $200,000 loss is okay? I mean, it just seems woolly.
We have no intention, we wouldn't want to introduce a concession and reduce the revenue targets within our current budgets. So we'd want to be comfortable that we can reach our revenue targets.
So you
Why
do
don't
the
we just say
analysis,
that?
and then if the analysis shows there's a massive loss, then the
Yeah.
trial wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But what's a massive, I guess for me, what's a massive loss? What's acceptable? $100,000 loss, 200,
No
500? Well, why don't we say that?
Well, it's no loss against the budget that's in the 10-year plan.
Well, it's saying can be done without compromising overall revenue targets for these sites. It's woolly.
We would be willing to alter the wording so it specifies that.
Without a reduction in revenue.
Yeah.
Without a
That'd be great.
reduction in revenue.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, you've been asked as the mover, Anna and Kesh, for a potential adjustment that makes it quite clear that this is cost neutral
Yeah, I'm happy
in
with that.
every form.
I'd actually say reduction in current revenue budgets. Or current approved revenue budgets or something like
Okay,
that.
thank you.
Does that make sense to Anna?
Yeah, thank you.
Kesh, you're both agreeable? Can we put that in, please? I just have a question. Sorry, Councillor Van Oosten, you go first.
Thank you. My question's with regard to the wordings in the first instance. So, and just for clarification, so that's around developing what a concession fee might be and the level that may be applied, but also that it would be a trial just for the 23-4 period, analysis then done for the long-term plan. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so the benefit of the trial is to be able to get that analysis and see what impact it might have.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Just a short question from me. This kind of subsidising and equalisation so people can get to same as Jeff, I'm all aboard the sentiment here and what we're trying to achieve with accessibility to our facilities. It is a little bit of a wet finger in the air as to how it will be picked up. We don't yet currently hold the data around how many people with community services cards are currently accessing our facilities, so we have no information that, so we haven't got a base to measure from, but when you get the cards on board, the question is, then you'll be able to provide a base and understand who the users of these facilities are and how we can encourage more people to come full stop and build revenue. Is that the plan?
Correct, and also look at repeat visitation.
Repeat visitation, look at those kind of things.
Yeah.
You mentioned Wellington in passing, and their scheme is a little different, isn't it? It's not a community services card, but it's built into a concession that they can, and that gets the repeat use, right?
They've got a community services card rate, and then they've also got what's called a leisure card, where they have relationships with partner organisations such as Women's Refuge, etc., where they offer a higher discounted rate.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Councillor Bidder.
Paula, is it possible to, and I'll ask this to Councillor Anna, would you be able to remove Part B from that motion so that I can vote for your Part C?
We can take it in parts. We can take it in parts, and I think we should, because they're quite distinct parts of the business, so, yeah. Is there any more? Oh, Councillor Emma, how are you? Well, where are you? There you are.
Musical chairs. Just wanted to clarify, is this only around entry fee, or is it about guided tours at the gardens, etc.?
It would be mostly around entry fees, but that is part of the analysis that we'd want to look at, like where would we get the most return from.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, I think we've got rid of all the questions. Everybody feel they have information on this? So this is the motion that's been put. We're going to take it in parts, just for the ability for councillors to make two different. So, oh, thanks, you've separated it nicely out, thank you. So we'll go for the first motion, which is just approves the fees and charges for the third year of the annual plan. It's been, does any further debate? Why have we not received the report? Oh, we need to receive the report. Sorry, it's not listed, I can see that. So we'll move that the report be received, which is straightforward. All in favour? Okay, and now the substance. The first one, proposed fees and charges. Is there any debate? I think, Councillor Bidder, you had some debate.
While we want to grow our revenue, I am concerned about the detail of some of the fees and charges, and that I certainly haven't had any time to go through a line-by-line analysis. There are two areas that I am very familiar with from my background in building control and planning, and there are charges in there that strike me as dubious. With reference to the Local Government Act, section 150, part 4, which says that fees must not provide for the local authority to recover more than the reasonable costs. And when I look at those fees, some of the fees in the building control have gone up 56%, some in the planning 91%. Yes, the majority of the fees have just been adjusted by inflation at around 6%. However, fees like, if I just select out of the many fees so as not to bore you and use up all of my time, photocopying of $1.30 per A4 page, can we just not walk across to the warehouse and get it done at 20 cents per page? And I could go on, but my point is that I cannot approve the proposed fees and charges as they stand.
Okay, thank you. We're in an unusual, good debate, an unusual situation of the inability to ask questions on that now that you've raised those matters. But so, just saying that, Councillor Tauriki.
E mihi ana kia Councillor Casey Cox, Naidu Roth, tēnā korua. Thank you both. You've offered up a ray of light for our community at a time when we have some very stressful times for many of our ratepayers and community members. And so offering an aspect of well-being to people's livelihood is certainly something that I will absolutely support. Many of our whānau in our community are finding it very difficult right now to do some of the basic and enjoy some of the basic things that we have on offer to them. And so I see this as a great opportunity for us to do and give something back to our community that isn't always a doom and gloom and a rates rise. And so I just want to commend you both on having the foresight to exercise your decision-making, your governance skills outside of what would typically be business as usual for us. So thank you very much.
Yes, we were debating then, but yeah,
Are we debating both motions?
just the one.
In one?
No, one, just one.
Just the
Sorry.
approve the
Yeah,
fees and
sorry, I was
charges?
listening to the very eloquent thing. We are actually
It was very
only-
eloquent, but I
You-
was concerned that you were debating to the wrong motion.
Yeah, we're just doing the first one separately, but
So
I
you get
wasn't.
another bite of the cherry.
Oh, well, hey, look at that. Well, you know what, I am on motion too.
Brilliant. Any other debate on the first one, which is just accepting the fees and charges? You still in that one? No, Jeff? That was for the, okay. All right, we'll go to the board. Sorry, that was just so eloquent, I forgot myself. Could we go into voting on the board, please? It's coming.
The motion is carried, noting that Councillor Bidder is dissenting.
Perfect,
On
thank you.
Zoom, we do have Councillor Hutt and Councillor Thompson, who have both supported the motion.
Thank you. Okay, then we do go on to the second one, and as the mover, of course, Anna, you are the mover, so you get the right to speak first, therefore having a right of reply should you be required.
Have anything further to say, Mayor Paula? I feel like I've said it already, so I guess the only thing I would add is that based on the research I think that Fairer Futures group has done around benefit incomes, the margins that people are living with and on are very small, and so this has the potential to just make life a little bit better and easier for people who are primarily reliant on benefits. But not only that, it's also for people who are on low wage incomes as well, who also can be in, have the right to a community services card. So it's not only for people on benefits. But that's all. Kia ora.
Thank you. Any other debate? Let me just, sorry, get my bud, just get, it's a bit lumpy here. There we go. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor Southgate. Yeah, look, I'll support this, and well done, Anna and Kesh, for the initiative and for your debate. I certainly hear what you're saying, and I know from experience in my family, some of the younger members, there's a kind of working poor out there who are on low wages and working long weeks, but they still can't afford bugger all. I would also just perhaps remind us that there is another group out there in society, and that's the middle class, who aren't finding it easy at the moment either, with landlords who are finding their mortgage rates going up massively, and the cost of living, of course, so everyone's doing it tough. But I'm keen to see this go ahead. For me, I suppose the reckoning will be how much, what actually comes out of it. How much can we afford to forsake for this? But I certainly think it's a good initiative. Well done.
Thank you, Jeff. Now I have Maxine.
Thank you. Thank you, Anna, for bringing this to the table, despite the fact that it may have been talked about in previous years and may have even been implemented in other councils, doesn't take away from the brave motion that you're putting up today. There's absolutely no doubt that many in our community aren't able to even afford the most basics, and this allows them to be able to plan and prepare their budgets to be able to enjoy some of our biggest treasures. I acknowledge the words of others at the table and thank them for that. I won't go over that again, but I think the value of a trial is really important for us to be able to use the scientific data that comes out of that, to be able to tailor it for future years or to implement a different form. So I'm absolutely in support of this and commend you on bringing this to the table. Thank you to both the mover and the seconder. Kia ora.
Councillor Pike.
Paula? I just want to acknowledge Councillor Casey Cox and Councillor Naidu Ralph for bringing this to the table. It is an important issue, and I think we all know that times are tough and we do need to look after our most vulnerable communities. And I think this will, as you say, Councillor Casey Cox, that it will improve the quality of life for these whānau. So I want to acknowledge and say that I will support this motion and hope that we can find a way forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Naidu Rofe.
Credit to Councillor Anna for getting this on the table, and in full support. It is a one-year trial, as you all said, and it will give us the opportunity to discuss it further come LTP time. We know that people are suffering in the community to make ends meet, and this will just help improve access for our most vulnerable in the community. And I think it's just the way we have to be flexible and the way we have to think about things at the moment. And who knows, it might even result in increasing our revenue. So you never know.
Thank you. Councillor Hutt on Zoom.
Kia ora. Can you hear me all good?
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. I am going to try and keep myself together because this is something that is very, very personal to me, but I really want to thank Councillor Casey Cox and Councillor Naidu Rolfe, because I'm someone who's been who's had a community service card, and I cannot stress how isolating that experience is. If you have a community services card, you're not looking to cut down on how many takeaways you have or how many coffees you have. These are people who sometimes have no disposable income or really have to go without to do something nice for themselves or nice for their kids and their wider families. So I just know how much of a difference this would have made to me. And I just really want to thank this motion to be brought, because I really think that it shows an emphasis towards well-being and towards understanding what the lived experiences of people who are in this position. So just a really big thank you, and I promise I'll be slightly less teary for anything else.
It's all good to have a heart, Louise. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. I will also be supporting this, and I think it's an excellent idea to be piloting. Actually, when you think about it, people on lower incomes often can't access the concessions that we have either, so like the annual passes and things, which overall would make it more affordable to, say, go to the pools or go to the zoo, because it involves such a relatively large one-off upfront cost. And so I think that this is a way to make it more affordable, but also particularly for people who can't buy annual passes and things. And I guess on that, I'm looking forward to exploring the idea of the leisure card, like Wellington has, so that we can look at ways for our residents to be able to frequently go to our facilities without necessarily having cost as such a barrier, but also looking more broadly at our charges and things, say for the pools. Councillor Ewan has brought up the idea of raising the age of free entry for the pools, and I think those are all really good things to look at, because actually having access to things like pools and the zoo adds immensely to quality of life for families and the in the city. So looking forward to that long-term plan discussion as well.
Councillor Bidder.
Mayor Paula, I just want to insert Councillor Moko's words onto this debate. They're very good, and if we can put my name to those. Thank you.
Thank you. Always wise to go first, Moko. Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Paula. Look, I intend to support the motion. I think it's good that we're having this discussion. But can I qualify it by saying, and trying not to be a Scrooge, actually we haven't decided this is actually going to happen. What we've asked is that staff do an analysis to see if they can come up with a cost-neutral mechanism to provide a reduction of cost for a selected group of the community. So before we start patting ourselves on the back and assuming and actually broadcasting to the community this is a done thing, it isn't. What we're saying here is that staff are going to go away and do some analysis. And I have to say, I will look at that analysis with great interest, because my life experience has told me that there's usually nothing for naught, right? There's got to be someone paying for this. And I'm assuming staff will ensure that when they do the analysis that they calculate things like the cost of managing the process and you know, the systems. We're going to have people turn up with the community services card. We're going to have to make sure they're valid, you know, that sort of process. But I'm sure staff will do that. So assuming that the report shows that it's cost neutral, and that will then mean that there's going to be an overall growth of volume, because it's the growth of volume that pays for enabling the discount, because otherwise you're just stealing from one lot to the other. I'm looking forward to seeing that robustness. And when that comes back, and if that in fact materialises, then I guess we should get emotional and comfortable and happy and celebrate that we're doing this. But we're not there yet. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but let's not overinflate this until we actually get the data.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. I'll just add my vote of support to this. When it first came up as an idea, I was not sure, because I had asked for small projects like this to be set as, like as Ewan said, if you put something in, something comes out. That's the financial situation we're in. So coming to the annual plan, I was a bit wary, because it is an addition, it's something new, and the place for that is in fact the LTP. But having looked at it and spoken with Anna and Helen and the mechanics of it and its cost neutrality at this point in time, and the fact we actually might be able to derive some helpful data about who is using our facilities and how they're using them, to me, those are worth getting in themselves. Because I would like to understand how we give effect to one of our well-beings around inclusivity, accessibility. So if this helps us to gain more data, plus I put on notice, Helen, that I'm really interested in the alternative ways of achieving the same result, that accessibility at a good price point for all people of Hamilton. So yeah, look, I'm hoping that by the time we get to have an LTP conversation, which is going to be 10 times harder than anything we discussed today, that we have enough feedback from that to understand. And actually, of course, we haven't finally approved it until it goes through the next iteration, past consultation. Yeah, I'm looking for robust data. I'm looking for cutting-edge ways of doing this, you know, even leading out in this space in a way that doesn't impose on the already struggling ratepayers across the board. But thank you, Anna, for doing the work behind this, and thank you for letting me know about it yesterday so that we could have a think, ponder, and ask the right questions. So we'll go to the vote. What?
The motion is carried unanimously.
Okay, so we have now moved the resolution to No.
Can I confirm that you were voting in favour? Wonderful. So just noting that the screen error is
We don't know why.
unknown, but that Councillor Van Oosten is in favour of the motion.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We are going to move into public excluded, but just for those in the public gallery who have to pop out for a minute, I'm not believing that this will be a long item because it only relates to fees and charges in the public excluded session at this point. So it's only going to be a small one. So, yeah, so please bear with us, those people who have to leave. We shan't be long. We really get through this quite quickly, I think. So I'll move that we move into public excluded. Seconded by Councillor Van Oosten. All in favour? Yes, thank you. How long do you think it might be? Quarter of an hour?